Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. New project today. It seems as though, that doesn't seem as though, it's the truth. The pastor's wife is a bit of a painter. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean that she paints walls or houses. She's terrible at that. Holy cow, don't let her paint a wall. She'll get more on herself than she will on the wall. But she can paint pictures, and she's really good at it. I tell people she is a disciple of Bob Ross. Well, we have a painting that she's working on. It is a gift for a friend for a 50th anniversary, and she needs a frame for it. Guess who's going to get the call? That's me. Now, I've made dozens and dozens of frames. I don't know that I bring anything new to the subject, but if you've never watched one built, I'll show you how I do mine. Now, the way that I decide the thickness of my frame is I look at the canvas. This is the canvas. This is the size she is painting on. This one's all janky. I think we used it as a curtain at one time. Anyway, I take this thickness right here and I double it. And that tells me how thick my frame is going to be. This particular one is 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to make this 1.5 inches deep, and that'll allow this to sit in the frame, not protruding, but not sunken. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to start getting the wood cut up to the proper thickness, width, diameter. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the wood. I'm actually set about a 1/16 over, just in case. In case. That's why, just in case. So blade's already set up. We'll go ahead and get this cut. So I don't know if you noticed, there was a little bit of tension in these pieces to the point where I had to take a wedge. It wanted to bind up on the riving knife. And so when that happens, you shut it off. Don't force it through because it's dangerous. Kick back, bored through your gut. It's just not good. What I normally do is I back it off, stick a wedge in there, and that keeps it from wanting to suck onto that riving knife and not move. So that's what that was all about. If you saw that and you noticed that, that's why I did that. Now, I suppose this next step, you could do it now or you could do it later. I got the router table out. Harbor Freight, of course. What I like to do on my frames is put just a little bit of a accent, a little profile. I'll show you the bit that I'm going to use. I don't know the name of it, but it gives it just a nice profile. It's not just a boring block. Bleh. So I like to do this before I cut the 45s, because if you have the 45 on it, it gets a little bit janky. Is that a word? Sure, janky. This gives me a little bit more to hold on to, makes it a little bit more comfortable for me. So I'm going to go ahead and run these through the router table. I'll show you what they look like when I'm done, and then we're ready to start cutting 45s on this and getting it going. Oop, gargles. Found them. Plug it in. So you can see after the router table kind of what that profile is going to look like. Like I said, it's nothing drastic or dramatic, but it just takes some of the boringness out of it without detracting from the art. And that's really what we're concerned about, is showcasing the art, not the frame. It's never about the frame. Okay, this is where we need to start knowing some measurements. This canvas that she is painting on is 16 by 20. I know that because I wrote it right there. 16 by, it's in black and white, folks. It don't lie. 16 by 20. Now there's a lot of math you can do and all, geometry and all that. No, don't. Don't blow your mind up trying to figure that out, because there's an easier way. Thanks to, if you're familiar with David Prosciutto from Make Something, he made a picture frame jig that I swear everybody on YouTube uses. I'm not going to tell you how to make it because he does a great job. If you've not seen his channel, it's called Make Something. He has a series. He has a picture frame series, of which this is one of the videos. So it's back here. Let me go get it. We don't need this no more. There. That slides in there. 45, 45. You're good to go. It's the simplest thing in the world. And thank you to him for making all of our lives easier. Okay, so simply the way this thing works is, this is my outside of the frame. Resting it up against this and cutting it is going to give me a 45 this way. Then this over here is my length. Now, the canvas is 16 by 20. If I make it 16 by 20, I have yet to make a frame for a canvas that the canvas was actually, I don't know, square. So I always give myself a little bit of play. I like an 1/8 inch all the way around. 1/8 inch plus 1/8 inch is 1/4 inch. So we're going to take this. We're going to set this at 16 1/4, which ought to be right there. Nifty Harbor Freight clamp. And as soon as you cut this 45 and line it up to that, it doesn't matter what phase of the moon is in or where Jupiter's at or anything like that. Your inside 45s are going to be 16 1/8 on either side. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you. Dust collection. The router bit was set just a little bit high, which is fine, but it'll leave a little finish mark along the top edge, which I don't like. Some people like it. In the case of like a shelf or a cabinet or something like that, it's a nice extra feature. In a picture frame, I don't really like it. Again, one of my favorite tools, Red Devil paint scraper, takes it right out. No problem. So I'm just going to go through and double check on that. There's a little bit on this one. I just changed the blades in my big red box over the planer. That's what it's called. It's called a planer. I just changed the blades in my planer before I started this project. So the finish came out really nice. I'm just going to jump straight up to 120. I'm going to hand sand it. Boo. But I'm going to hand sand it because there's no sense in putting random orbit sander on this and then take the risk of gouging or, you know, something ugly like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick 120 hand sand on this, and I think we'll be all right. I think it'll come out nice. So see you on the other side. I'm on my last piece. That's funny, I don't sell the items I make. Normally I give them away as gifts, or I build them because I need them around the house, or because the pastor's wife says, hey, build this, and I build it. I don't sell anything. The only commission job I ever got was from an artist locally who was having an art show. He needed frames made. I had never made frames before, but the wife was taking art lessons off of her and said, my husband will make them. I ended up making 15 frames for this woman. She wanted them made out of pine. And they came out okay. But if you know anything about pine, you start cutting it into strips, it's going to twist up like a pretzel. I went to the art opening. My frames are not worthy of her. artwork. But she was happy with them. And so I just sort of, I guess, got labeled as the frame guy. And I just started making a bunch of frames. Like I said, my wife paints, so we always need a frame. And I guess I've gotten good at it. I guess. I don't know. I don't hear a whole lot of complaints, but then again, I make them for my wife. She complains. She can get them somewhere else. I think we'll move on. So I'm ready for my glue up. And just like any other glue up, it's, you know, some reason it's stressful. Doesn't really need to be, but it is. I have a couple of squares because one thing this needs to be is square. Can't blame it on a crooked canvas if your frame is, you know. This is a strap clamp that I have here, little corners. Don't trust that the corners are going to suck it in square. They're not going to. It's just to hold the pieces together. This particular clamp was given to me by my sister-in-law. I built something, I don't even remember what it is now, but I built something and she said, here, you can have this clamp. So thank you. I use it all the time. So we're going to get some glue on this and get it put together, I hope, without incidents and allegations. Hallelujah. That Paul Simon? I think so. I always have a wet rag around too because it gives you something to wipe your fingers on. So there is another step after this. We're going to add some splines to it. And that's going to give us some strength. Drag the whole thing this way so I can get my big sausage fingers to tighten this thing up. You don't really, I don't think you need to super crank this, you know? I don't think so. I think that tends to twist the frame. At least that's what's happened to me in the past. Make sure your corners match up. Throw a square in it. Lovely. Throw a square in it. Lovely. Check this one. Womp, womp. There we go. Okay. Give it a little bit more crank for Santa Claus. Corners still look good. Except for that one. There we go. Okay. Crank it a little bit more. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're cooking with peanut oil. Oh, pulled that right in. Lovely. Square down here. You know, why use two squares? What if one of them's wrong? Okay. We look good. We look real good. We're going to have to let that dry now. I don't know if I'll get back to this tonight or not. Again, don't worry. It's a couple seconds and we'll be right back. In the meantime, we're going to let this dry and, you know, dinner. Okay, so we're back in the shop. I have the frame out of clamps. It glued together really nicely, actually. I have it in the next jig that we need to use for this, which is a spline jig. And what it does is it's going to cut a slot on the corners, each of the four corners. So once you have it set up where you want it, it's basically a matter of turning the saw on, running it through. Run all four of the first splines first. And what do I mean by that? I don't even know what I mean by that. I do. You're going to cut this spline, take the frame out, rotate it. Everything that's going to be on the inside or the back of the frame, cut all them first. That way they're all going to line up. Set it up for the second cut and then cut all of those. That way everything lines up. You don't want to spline here and the next one over here and the next. No, don't do that. So I have it all set up to where I want it for the backmost splines, and we'll go ahead and run them through. So as you can see, I have to fight with these clamps. And you can eliminate that by permanently mounting a clamp up here, much like the one that was on the 45-degree jig that we cut these out on. And then you wouldn't have to deal with this. That's, you know, nightmare. But that's what I got right now, so that's what I'm going to use. Now, I basically just bump the jig in to my next desired position. I don't have a measurement for you. Whatever looks good, that's where you want to put it. And I do the whole thing over again, and then I guess we have to make splines, because otherwise we just have grooves in the frame, and that would look stupid. And there you can see that that gives us two nice evenly spaced slots that we can later put splines in and strengthen that frame up. So the thickness of your splines, for the thickness that they have to be, is directly related to the thickness of your blade, because it's your blade, after all, that, you know, made the slot there in the corner of your picture frame. Now, I took one of these fancy schmancy things and measured my blade. It is 0.09, maybe. I don't know. You know what? I'll tell you here in a second, because I forgot just like that. Yeah, 0.09. Okay, which comes out to about 3/30 seconds if I've done the math right. Anyway, or maybe it's 3/16. It's a number, okay? I have it set where I think I need to have it set. I'm gonna go ahead and run this through, and then we'll test it against the slots and see how it works. Just a bit outside. Well, it was at this point that my microphone quit working, or I forgot to turn it on, but what I'm doing is telling you how I'm going to lovingly tap these into place. They were a little bit snug fitting, they weren't just going to fall in, and you don't want them that way. So you add some glue, and you get out your 20-ounce Craftsman hammer, and you just go to town and you beat them into submission. No, you beat them into place. You don't beat them at all. You lovingly tap them. As you can see, the microphone still isn't working. I'm blaming it on the battery at this point. Check out them fancy orange gloves. I got those just to match my shirt. No, actually I didn't. I ran out of the blue ones. These ones were cheaper. Okay, the stain is dry, or dry enough, considering I don't want to wait no more. I got stuff to do. In honor of National Puppy Day, I had hot dogs for dinner. I'm going to pull a couple of these out. It's just a piece of whatever with a screw stuck through it. And what that does is that sets this up off the tabletop so that I can poly this and not have it stick to the tabletop. Don't want that. But I'm still going to be picking it up and shoving it around. And I'm using a foam brush. Haven't done this for a long time. Varathane water-based satin polyurethane. Ultra fast dry time. Superior scratch resistant. Soap and water cleanup. That's what I like. Here we go. Ba, 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 ba. That'll do it for the first coat. Just like that. We're going to let that dry, come back. Probably have to hit it with a light sand, which I use 220 grit. Real light. Don't go bananas on this thing, because you'll go right through that first coat. Just real light. Just smoothing it out. That's all you're doing. I use a damp cloth, wipe it off. Put the second coat on, and then I have to look at it after the second coat and see if it needs a third. But for now, dry. That's what we're waiting on. Back in the shop. This is the last day I have to finish this frame. Tomorrow's the day of delivery. But that's okay. I went ahead and got it stained as I showed you with the bad microphone. Hopefully this one's working. I did go with 3 coats of polyurethane. After the second coat, it was just rough. Uh, yeah, I could blame it on the poly, but it might very well be my sand job. Shh. So now we're down to putting in the hardware, which are little Z-clips, which I'll bring in here a little bit tighter, but they're little Z-clips, and they're going to mount on those strips that we put in with 1 screw, and then 1 screw is going to go back in to the back of the canvas. I just started using these, and here's why. The way I used to do it was I would drill a hole through the strip into the back of the picture frame, the back of the canvas, and I knew that someday it was going to happen, and it happened right through the painting. Don't do that. It ends badly for everybody. Fortunately, my wife was able to fix it. Good, because I felt horrible. So a little bit of a happy accident. You may remember when I said that I was going to cut the original frame a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch over. Well, I never went back and recut it. Just forgot. Happens. I'm human. And then I glued these strips on, as I said, so that the canvas would be flush with the front. And that left me, I guess, an 1/8 inch or so of a rabbit. There's a clip here. See what I'm saying? Well, it's a happy accident because now I can't do this with one hand. Now the clips have a place to set down in, and it's not going to be riding on the back. When I make a frame, I worry a lot about it hanging on a wall and scratching somebody's wall. So this works out really well because this is going to be indented, so to speak. And so that's going to help us out a lot. Something you don't want to do, or at least I try not to do, is when you're drilling this portion, try not to go all the way through because that's going to be visible from the other side. So try not to go through that. You don't really need to. The screws are short enough that you don't have to. Okay, it's crunch time. Everything up to this point, if I messed it up, I could fix it. But now it's about to get real because if I mess this up, I can't fix it. Live painting going in. My wife chose to paint this one in oil. Why does that matter? Well, because it's never 100% dry. So I have to be careful how I handle it. I have to be careful about a lot of the things I do from this point on, because if I screw this up, we have no gift to give, and I'm a dead man. Got a deck of playing cards, because we always have a deck of playing cards. We are a euchre family. Everyone in my family plays euchre. Everybody in my wife's, well, I shouldn't say everybody in my family. Everybody in my wife's family plays euchre. So anyone still play that? Or is it an ancient game? Anyway, we do. We like it. Take your deck of cards. These ones have nice airplanes on them. And what you're going to do with these is just take some. There are a lot of folks on YouTube that show you how to do this. Just take a handful. Don't force them in. But this is going to come to the bottom. That still has some play in it. We're going to add a couple more. I hope these aren't the cards I just bought. Oh boy, would I be in trouble. Oh well. Too late now. I'm going to die. No, you don't, like I said, you don't want to cram them in there. But now that's fairly snug. That's flush to the bottom. We have a nice even space at the top. Take them back out. Count them. I have 24. Cut that in half. 14. I'm just kidding you. It's 12. And you take half of them, you put them at the top, and I'm going to put one in. Slide that up because I don't want my big sausage fingers getting in there and messing everything up. You put those on the bottom, and you should be evenly spaced. Do the same thing for the sides, and then your picture should be 100% evenly spaced. So here we go. Again, shove it to one side. Just I don't know why I'm like, I guess I'm obsessive compulsive. Cards all have to be going the same direction for me. We're gonna say that much, maybe that much. Could maybe sneak another one or two in there if I could get my hands to work. There's one. Oh, got to go the right direction. That's pretty good. Okay, again, count them up. Lick your fingers after you got sawdust all over them. 20. Even I know half of that because I got 10 fingers and 10 toes, and if I cut off my feet, then I'm left with 10 fingers. That's where it gets real. Now I'm going to try and not touch the painting. And if it falls out, feel free to laugh at me while I start to cry. Conceivably, I could go ahead and drill this as it sits. It don't have to be a big hole. It don't even have to be a deep hole. It needs to be done. Otherwise, this thing's just flopping in the wind. Here's my drill. Again, I'm going to find some place to hold on to this where I don't have to worry. Okay, I can always come back and tighten that up a little bit more later. No pain on my hand. That's always a good thing. The thing is once you get two of them in, you have a lot more freedom. Isn't this magnetic? I'm asking you like you should know. Tell me. Yeah? Oh, magic. Until you do that, you meathead. Oh, come on now. Take two. Oh, it wants to fight me. Did I even drill a hole? Sure, I can see it. Here's what we're going to do. Because we have our cards holding everything in place, let's bring it up here where we can see it. Oh, that's much better. I've lost everything. Here we go. I'm so nervous about, I shouldn't be, but I'm nervous about this and my hand is shaking. There we go. Easy peasy, macaroni and cheesy. Blue box, not yellow. Okay, two in. Now, again, a lot of freedom now. Not freedom. We can still screw this up. But I'm going to catch one in the side. Watch where I'm putting my fingers. I'm going to catch one in the side. Oh, I could feel that pulling that in. That's nice. Okay, at this point, this is not going anywhere. How many times you heard a guy say that? I ain't going anywhere. Then you find a load of lumber laying on the side of the road. Folks, you can buy a house for what you're paying for 2x6 now. Holy moly. Okay, cards are out. Now, that might be one of the best ones I've done. It is perfectly centered. Again, I'm going to watch where I'm putting my fingers. As they say, rinse and repeat. Does anybody actually do that? You know, wash your hair, you're going to rinse it and repeat. Doesn't seem very fiscally sound. But as far as the build itself goes, there's only one thing left to do. That is to make this thing hangable. I like to use wire, and I put some brackets on while you weren't looking because I'm sneaky that way. I have the frame setting up on 2 pieces of wood, not on the painting, because if it's not 100% dry, it's going to smear it. So the frame is sitting on some blocks of wood. The painting is suspended in midair, like some kind of magician, I guess. I don't know. Just going to sling that through there. Shrink tape. Use some shrink tape on this. And what that does is it keeps this wire from fraying. Ain't nothing worse than a fraying wire. So we'll put that on first. Well, they coil this stuff up so small, you unwire it. That's not the piece I want. You unwind it and it's got a mind of its own. It just goes where it wants. I guess I used to do that when I was young. Just go where I want. Sliding down, shrink tape. And then I need a source of fire. Hang on, let me see what I can find. I'm gonna run in the house for a minute. It smells like spaghetti sauce in here. Oh my God. This is my fireplace lighter. All you do, boop, and that'll shrink right up there. And then that's never going to fray. Now, if you put it way up here, it's not going to make sense because then the nail is going to hit the frame. I usually try to set this so that it's inside the frame. Okay. Introduce some fire. And it shrinks right up. There it is. It's done, except for hanging it up on the wall. Well, delivering it and letting them figure out where it's going to go. But that's it as far as the build is concerned. There you go. It looks great. And the frame isn't too bad either. Using the same type of wood, you almost can't see the splines, and I really like that subtle shaping. It looks good. And friends, that's all it has to look. Don't let greatness stand in the way of good enough. Thanks for watching. If you like the kind of videos I'm putting out, maybe subscribe. I plan on building some more things. Have a great day.